speckled band. Come in. Yes, Mrs. Hudson?
Oh, Dr. Watson, there's a young lady to see you.
Young lady? What sort of young lady?
Very refined. She says her name is Lady Fairfax.
Well, if she says so, I expect it is.
Shall I request her to step this way?
If you'd be so good. Fairfax. Is there something Fairfax? Where have I heard that name before?
Lady Fairfax.
Lady Fairfax, I'm at your service.
Dr. Watson, how
I
kind
could
of
see
you.
straight away that here was a thoroughly well-bred, sensible, honest girl. Devilish pretty, too.
I understand Mr. Sherlock Holmes has gone away.
He left only 2 minutes ago and returns in a fortnight.
Can he not be recalled?
Quite out of the question.
But I come on a matter of the utmost urgency. A life is in danger.
My dear Lady Fairfax, Holmes has been overworking. Must have a complete rest. I speak not only as his friend, but as his physician. I should hesitate to summon him back here, were it the life of our Queen herself that were in danger.
Oh, dear.
Are you unwell?
No.
May I fetch you some tea?
No, thank you. No, I'm all right. It's Harry, my husband. It's all quite simple and quite dreadful. Harry's a magistrate, of course. And last year he caused a man known as Black Paul to be sent to prison for poaching. Now, there was no doubt of his guilt, and he'd offended before in all sorts of ways. Well, now he's out of prison, and the servants have heard that he's threatening to kill Harry in revenge.
They may be exaggerating. Servants often do, you know.
Oh, I'm sure they're not in this case. But Harry just laughs about it and says that Black Paul is a harmless rascal with a taste for rhetoric. I wish I could believe it.
I happen to know that a certain Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard would be happy to give you all the aid he could.
Thank you, but Harry won't go to the police, and he's forbidden me to do so.
And you invariably respect his wishes.
Well, naturally. I have to protect him all the time, Dr. Watson, even against his will.
I see.
There must be other detectives in London who I might approach. Perhaps you know some of them.
Well, yes, it's true that in the last few years a number of, what shall I call them, rivals of Sherlock Holmes have sprung up. For instance, Carnacki, or however it's pronounced. But they're very slight and unsatisfactory fellows. Now, I couldn't in honesty recommend you to a single one.
Then what am I to do? Dr. Watson, will you help me?
I? Oh, no. No, I'm quite unfit, Lady Fairfax. No, I'm a simple medical man, ma'am. Not a detective.
But you've worked with Mr. Holmes on previous cases. You're his close friend and associate. You must have learned something from him.
Well, I think it's fair to say that I know his methods, yes. But I've really no...
Well, you could at least talk to Harry, make him see the danger he's in. Or speak to Black Paul, persuade him, warn him off, offer him money. Dr. Watson, I'll do anything if only you'll come to my assistance.
Anything?
Anything that lies in the power of a loyal wife.
You need do no more nor say no more, Lady Fairfax. Your request is reasonable, and it would be unchivalrous of me to refuse. You may expect me this evening.
Thank you. The train departs from Paddington Station at 4 o'clock. I'll see that you're met. And may I say, how heartening it is to acquire a trustworthy ally like yourself.
I hope to warrant your trust. I might say that I hope, too, that Sir Harry won't regard my arrival as an intrusion.
In that, you may rely on me.
Mrs. Hudson, would you tell the boy to find a cab for Lady Fairfax?
Oh, I'll walk until I see one. It's such a fine day. Until tonight, Dr. Watson.
Until tonight, Lady Fairfax. Fairnham, Fairbrother. Fairfax. I wonder. Darkwater!
Dr. Watson?
Yes.
My name is Carlos, sir. I am Sir Harry Fairfax's butler. I'm sent to meet you, sir.
Oh, how uncommonly civil of him. Would you mind taking that to the coach for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Would you care to come with me, sir?
Yes, indeed. I could tell straight away that the fellow was a foreigner, probably a Spaniard. Not that I've anything against them. Honest-hearted chaps, what I hear. And this specimen was obviously one of the best of them. Oh, I took to him as soon as I set eyes on him. Have we far to go?
About 4 miles, sir.
The house is in the village, I take it.
No, sir. It is away from everything. Very lonely, especially at night.
What the devil's going on?
That is Black Paul, sir.
Oh, so that's the rascal who's...
Yes, sir. The man who has been in a prison.
So I could tell straight away that he was up to no good. Tell me, Carlos.
Sir.
What do you think of these stories saying that Black Paul is threatening Sir Harry's life?
I think nothing, sir. I am already 11 years in this country, and yet I do not comprehend the people. To me, they are strange.
Yes. Well, I suppose we are rather a deep lot. Get our way. Forgive me, but how do you come to be here? In England, I mean.
That is a very long story, sir.
The part up there looks deucedly unsafe.
The house is old.
Yes. Yes, it is. All the more reason. Who's that?
There is always the under gardener, Maddox, sir. He is quite harmless.
No doubt you're right. After all, the poor devil can't help the way it was made.
As you say, sir. Would you care to come in out of the rain?
He really was the very soul of courtesy.
I'll warrant he was.
It'll be something just to see a new face.
Dr. Watson.
Oh, my dear Dr. Watson.
Sir
This
Harry.
is kind of you.
He struck me immediately as the best type of English country gentleman. I simply couldn't believe that what I knew about his family was at all important.
No, quite frankly, I wasn't that keen on the notion of your coming down here when my dear wife sprang it on me. But then I realized what marvelous yarns you could spin us.
Ah.
Now, here is the aforesaid dear wife, whom you probably remember from this morning.
Indeed I do.
I hope your journey was tolerable, Dr. Watson.
It was very pleasant, for the most part.
It's so kind of you to do this for us.
Not at all.
Now, may I present Major Bradshaw, who served under my father in his old regiment,
How do you do, Doctor?
Major?
and my brother, Miles.
Good evening to you, Dr. Watson. Welcome to Darkwater Hall. Life here may strike you as a little dull and rustic after the bustle and polish of London, but believe me, it has its elements of interest.
Do sit down, my dear.
You
doctor.
are, I presume, a medical doctor and not a doctor of laws or divinity.
Medicine's my trade, yes.
In that case, the following fact, omitted by my brother just now, might interest you, although he and I are totally unlike in every possible way. We're twins.
Oh, well, that's not so surprising. No, in fact, about 3/4 of pairs of twins are no more alike than the offspring of the same parents at different confinements.
Is that really true? Of course, twins are often born hours apart, or so I'm told. Not so in our case, eh, Harry? 20 minutes separated our respective arrivals in this world, but it was enough.
Miles, I think we...
Dr. Watson's fascinated, I can assure you, Emily. Yes, 20 minutes separated the disposal of the baronetcy, the house, the estate, the money.
More sherry, Doctor?
Yes, thank you. Well, you're a good loser, Mr. Fairfax. That's plain enough. Thank you, Sir Harry. I must say my ears pricked up to your talk of the army. I was a sort of soldier myself when I was a youngster.
Oh, yes? Where did you serve?
Afghanistan.
Oh, you see any action?
War, not the sort of fighting man sees, but enough. Yes, I took a Jezail bullet in the shoulder at my wand. There was a blessing in disguise, though, because it meant that I missed the siege of Kandahar. Anyway, what with a wound and a bad attack of enteric fever, I was invalided out.
Oh, I say, what rotten luck. Did the Green Jacket serve in Afghanistan, Jack?
Yes, but not at that time.
No, I was on the point of joining the regiment myself when Papa was killed. But I took the view that my first duty lay with this place and the people on the estate. So a military career was ruled out for me.
I can understand. You're on leave, I take it, Major.
I'm retired. On half pay.
I see. Senora?
Signores, dinner is served.
A fellow was telling me there's talk in the city of income tax being put up to 9p in the pound in the next budget.
What? Impossible.
I hope it is, Doctor, but I shouldn't count on it. Now, the government seems set on making beggars of us all. And where will they get their money then? I mean, I'm all for helping those in want. But it should be done voluntarily, as an act of charity. Don't you agree?
Oh, yes, most certainly.
Provided the level at which the tax is levied is not lowered, I shall not be affected, I'm happy to say.
Nor I.
Money matters are so dispiriting. Can we not have some relief? Dr. Watson, do tell us of that strange case at Stoke Moran a couple of years ago in which you and Mr. Holmes were involved. The account in the Times newspaper was most uninformative.
Now, that was a truly bizarre occasion. A young lady arrived in our rooms in Baker Street at an unconscionably early hour in the morning. I woke to find Holmes standing fully dressed by my bed. He's a late riser as a rule, as the clock on the mantelpiece showed me it was only 7:15. Well, I know I shouldn't say it, because after all, the man has a mind like a razor. But my friend Holmes has, on occasion, benefited from the most astonishing strokes of luck. Some of the criminals that we've encountered have behaved with almost unbelievable stupidity.
They're a stupid lot.
True.
From what you say, Holmes has very little time for affairs of the heart.
Quite so. Oh, he's emphatically not a man for the ladies.
Unlike yourself, my dear Watson, eh?
Oh, really, Sir Harry?
Oh, now, don't deny it, my friend. I saw the way you were giving Dolores the glance. I don't blame you. She's very well worth looking at. But I should tread carefully there, if I were you. She and Carlos have an understanding, and these Spaniards can be devilish touchy where their womenfolk are concerned.
I don't trust these damn diggers.
Oh, really, Major?
Yes, that is going a bit far, Jack. Carlos has served his family faithfully and well for over 15 years.
How did he come to get his place here? Is there some story about it?
Well, if there is, it's passed me by. Oh, there was a vacancy, and a friend of my father's recommended Carlos. Well, gentlemen, shall we move through? Why do you ask?
Oh, merely something that he said to me on the way here.
Oh, you had a chat, did you?
Few words. He impressed me as a decent sort of man.
Yes.
And the Musgrave treasure had lain there undisturbed for over 200 years.
Yes. Undisturbed. And unsuspected.
That seems almost beyond belief.
I agree. That was borne in on me very strongly when I was writing my account of the case.
Now, when can we hope to see these adventures in print, Dr. Watson? I'm sure they'd find a very warm response from the reading public.
Well, you know, I'm contemplating such a step. But I really don't know whether I should.
You must be a man of boundless energy, assisting Mr. Holmes in his investigations, recording every detail, and still finding time for what I'm sure must be a very extensive medical practice.
Well, the practice rather suffers from time to time.
A man in work. A man with not just one occupation, but two. Neither of them likely to leave him high and dry, idle and unwanted, with perhaps 20 years of useless life ahead of him. A man to be envied.
Now, Jack, you're not to start feeling sorry for yourself. You haven't even begun to look for new employment yet, not seriously.
If it's not an impertinence, why did he retire?
Well, I think he's regretting it already. My father always used to say that Jack would never make a soldier. Oh, brave and loyal enough, but well, no gift for leadership. He never saw any real action, which is why I didn't take kindly to your mention of fighting men.
Jack does admit.
Oh, well, you couldn't have known. No, he was a captain for 15 years, you know. You only put him up to major as a parting gift. It's very sad.
Is he part of your household these days?
Well, in effect. At least for the time being. Oh, he makes a token contribution, but he can't really afford...
He's a sponger. Not that he's the only one, let it be said.
That'll do, Miles. Watson, my dear fellow, would it interest you to have a look at my gun room?
Oh, yes, very much indeed.
Oh, splendid. Emily, dearest, Watson would like to see the guns. I'll be up later.
Very well, dearest. Good night, Dr. Watson.
Good night, Lady Fairfax. Good night, Major.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night. Wait. Just put the candle down, Sir Harry, and stand away from it. Now you may light the lamp.
What was all that about?
A man in a lighted room with undrawn curtains is a perfect target.
A target for what? Oh, now, you don't suppose the Black Paul's out there with a Gatling gun, do you?
Holmes would never forgive me for neglecting so obvious a precaution. And, do you see, I ran across the fellow on my way here.
Well, now you're here, you may as well see what little I've got. Now, these are interesting. A pair of 18th century dueling pistols. Been in the family ever since, I shouldn't wonder.
Beautiful.
Now, this is about the only sort of thing there is to do down here. It's very slow for poor Emily. She misses the theatre most of all, and there's not much I can do about that. I feel I should perhaps apologize for Miles. Oh, well, visitors always bring out the worst in him. It's not just the baronetcy as such, though well, that sets the seal on things, as it were. I blame my father to a large extent. Now here is an early percussion revolver, about 1850. British, of course.
Most interesting.
Now, then, of course, he knew Emily before I did, and when we got engaged, well, I suspect he's still in love with her. Or fancies he is. Still, one shouldn't be uncharitable. Now, here is the pride and joy.
Yes, he's had bad luck. But then you mustn't blame yourself, my dear Sir Harry. After all, difficult as he may be, I could tell straight away there was no real harm in him. Now, this is home ground. Yes, Sir Rossi Charles, what? Single action, aperture sight. Yes, plenty of these in Afghanistan and on the frontier. In the wrong hands.
Now, my father picked it up after Jalalabad.
I remember it as notoriously...
I have locked up, Sir Harry. Will there be anything further, sir?
No, thank you, Carlos. Good night.
Good night, Signore.
He says he's locked up. But he isn't locked up in here. Not adequately. Well, there's nothing to lock except a couple of window catches. You should put shutters in.
Oh, now, you don't really suppose someone's going to break into this room, do you?
It's a possibility that Holmes would not rule out.
Emily, you're not wearing your pretty clothes.
I'm sorry, Harry. I just couldn't endure dressing up.
Oh, but you know quite well it's very poor sport without the appropriate clothes. They lend so much to what we do.
I don't know how you can think of such a thing tonight.
Tonight of all nights, surely. With all these long faces in the house, we must have some distraction. Oh, I've just a taste for it tonight.
Oh, dearest, please. It's late and I'm so tired.
Well, just the beginning, then. That's the best of it in some ways.
You comport yourself as if you were the embodiment of everything that is fine and true. Yet in your heart there sits the most notorious devil. I must drive him from you. Prepare yourself.
All right. But we'll do it tomorrow night. I insist.
Yes, Harry.
After all, you do enjoy it, don't you?
Oh, of course I do, my dearest.
Who's there?
A friend.
Advance, friend, and be recognized. This is an outrage.
Si, senor.
Well? Don't just stammer. Good morning, everybody. Oh, I see I'm the last down.
Good morning, Dr. Watson.
Morning,
I
Doctor.
hope you find something there to your taste.
I'm sure I shall. Aha! Porridge. Good.
I trust you slept well.
Perfectly, thank you. In fact, you know, I can't remember passing a better night in a strange bed.
Oh, I'm delighted to hear it. And what are your plans for this morning?
Well, the obvious first step is to have a few words with this Black Paul fella. Try to estimate just how much of a menace he is. Buy him out, perhaps. Then I thought I might call in at the local police station.
Police station? You're not in London now, Doctor. Our solitary arm of the law reaches out from a cottage on the other side of the estate.
I'd be obliged if you direct me to it in due time.
My dear Watson. Now, it's very pleasant having you here. And don't think for a moment that I don't appreciate your concern or your generosity with your time. But can't you forget this absurdity and just enjoy a few days in the country?
Harry, when a criminal is known to have threatened to kill my husband, I'm struck by no absurdity. Your talk of absurdity is not that of a brave man, but of a foolhardy and imprudent one.
Well spoken, my dear.
Oh, all right. I suppose I mustn't object if people are kind enough to show solicitude for my welfare. Still, you don't have to set out on your travels yet a while, my dear Watson. You must allow me to show you around this madhouse. Well, not exactly a madhouse. There are some pretty mad things about it. Oh, that, for instance. My grandfather who built this place was as mad as a hatter. Runs in the family, or used to. Oh, I see you knew that, Watson.
I'd heard something of the sort.
Oh, yes. Oh, Sir Thomas was quite a case. He used to... yes, well, I won't spoil your porridge, Watson.
A saner man than your father never walked this earth, Harry.
Oh, I agree, Jack. But if you remember...
Sir Harry! Sir Harry, somebody has broken into the gun room.
Has anything been taken?
Yes, sir. Please come.
When was it last fired?
Well, I've never fired it. It's not the sort of piece one does fire. But I think one can assume it was in full firing order. Carlos regularly strips it down, cleans and oils it.
Oh, does he?
Yes. Well, he knows more about the contents of this gun room than I do myself. Oh, he's an excellent man with guns, apart from his other qualities.
Nothing else is missing, Sir Harry.
Good. Now, you're quite sure you heard nothing unusual during the night?
Nothing, Sir Harry.
Very well. You may return to your duties.
Yes, sir.
Now, perhaps you'll begin to take me seriously.
Well, it's very suspicious, I have to agree.
Suspicious? Have words lost their meaning for you? This is not a matter of suspicion. This is certainty. You must have Black Paul arrested at once.
Dearest. But my position in this part of the country gives me a certain amount of power. But even I cannot have a man confined on mere suspicion. But he must be charged. And what charge can I bring?
Yes, there can have been no witnesses to this burglary. And to utter threats from a distance is not an offense as far as I'm aware.
Then you must be placed under guard and protected night and day.
Oh, look, I refuse to be made a prisoner in my own house. And out of doors, the thing would be quite out of the question, eh, Jack?
I wouldn't like to undertake it myself with anything less than a full platoon.
Then the only other course is that you leave the hall and go somewhere safe and secret
Well, and
until...
give a ruffian like Black Paul the satisfaction of seeing me bolt like a rabbit. I'd sooner die.
I believe you would.
The really puzzling question is how it was that nobody seems to have heard the breaking of the window. My room's immediately above here. I'm a light sleeper, but...
Perhaps I can suggest an answer. It's nothing more than a guess, of course. But when a household's awake, with servants and people running up and down stairs and so on, there's really quite a lot of noise. More, perhaps, than one imagines. My theory is that the burglary took place in daylight. Perhaps even during the last hour.
Oh, but surely the risk of being seen.
Substantially less than the risk of being heard. It's no more than 10 yards from the nearest cover to this window.
But a creature like Black Paul would be incapable of the thought necessary to make that calculation.
Quite likely. I've not yet had a close view of him.
But, Dr. Watson, you're not going to see him now that he's armed.
Oh, I can protect myself, Lady Fairfax. But that's still to come. No, for the moment, there are other matters to consider. Now, I've examined the flower bed outside the window.
As the great Sherlock Holmes would have done?
Precisely. And there are no footmarks that I could discern, which is rather surprising in view of the amount of rainfall we've had this month. But there are some fragments of glass on the soil, as indeed there are on this side of the window.
But is that so surprising?
Now, the door to this room is normally kept locked, is it not?
Yes, of course.
How many keys are there?
Well, 2. I have one, Carlos the other.
Does he keep it with him at all times?
No, mostly it's kept on a ring hanging up in his pantry.
Ah. And is that generally known in the household?
Oh, I really don't know. I suppose it might well be.
Your reasoning is pellucidly clear, Dr. Watson. Any of us, and Carlos besides, and the coachman too, for that matter, could have let themselves in here, broken the window from inside to suggest an intruder from outside, and gone away with rifle. On whom are you placing your money, my good doctor? On, Emily, perhaps?
Mr. Fairfax, all that I seek to do is to eliminate possibilities, however remote they may appear, and however absurd they may in retrospect turn out to have been.
As the great Sherlock Holmes would be seeking to do were he here.
Well, I'm not too proud to learn from my betters.
Nobly said, sir. If the great Sherlock Holmes were here, would he not be examining this stand for, what the devil are they called? Finger traces?
No doubt you mean fingerprints. Ah. Well, in our last conversation on the subject, my friend was quite positive that their effective use in the detection of crime was still some years in the future.
How confoundedly disappointing.
One moment, Sir Harry.
One moment, Dr. Watson. You don't seriously suppose, do you, that Carlos or Jack Bradshaw or Miles would have stolen that weapon? I mean, what conceivable motive could any of them have had?
No. Of course, I don't suppose any such thing. No, this Black Paul rascal is obviously the culprit. No, I was merely...
Displaying your powers of observation and deduction.
Very likely. But one small matter does puzzle me. To have brought off this burglary with such efficiency, Black Paul must have had some knowledge of the interior workings of the household. How could he have acquired it?
Oh, very simply. I should have told you earlier. Only he was employed in the scullery here for a couple of years in my father's time before being dismissed for annoying the maids. I remember him well.
I see. Well, that not only clears up my problem, but it supplies an added motive. Vengeance upon the Fairfax line, not only upon you personally.
Oh, how absurd of the fellow.
Well, I must away to see him now.
Look, my dear Watson, I do beg you to be careful.
You were to be careful, Sir Harry. Keep to the house as far as you can. Take Bradshaw with you if you must venture out. And warn the servants.
Well, I'll do as you say. We'll expect you back for luncheon. Now, let me give you directions.
Get out of here!
ain't here.
Good morning, Mrs.
Mrs. Nothing. Black Paul's woman's all I am, and I told you afore he ain't here.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry. I thought you said come in.
Well, you in now, but he still ain't here.
So I see. Are you expecting him back for a meal?
Aye. Could be, won't be long if they throws him out in the Dog and Duck. In a rare drinking mood he be today.
Celebrating, perhaps? Well, I'll wait if I may.
What do you want with him?
Oh, just the answers to a few questions.
What questions? Who be you?
I'm Dr. Watson.
Well, Doctor, you wasting your time. There ain't nothing wrong with him as you can cure. Nor me neither. What do you want to know? What are you after?
Some property is missing from Darkwater Hall, and I'm trying to recover it. Do you mind if I look round?
By God, I do mind. You leave my place alone if you don't stay right where you are. I swear to Christ, I'll scratch your eyes out.
So sorry, my dear lady. I've no wish to offend you, but...
Here he comes now. Now, you mind your mouth with him, my fine gentleman, if you want my advice. He's a wicked one, he is. A real cruel one. You'll be wanting some of your own doctoring.
Yes,
They say I killed a man, damn his eyes. Who be you? Who let the likes of you in here, eh?
I told him you weren't here, but he come in just the same.
What do you want with me, eh?
As I told your good lady, I'm inquiring...
Good lady! What be your name, good sir?
Oh, I'm Dr. Watson, a guest of Sir Harry Fairfax, the Hall.
That whited sepulchre? His heart's as black as mine, only he pretends different.
The house was burgled some hours ago and some property stolen.
There's good news. Some of his fair young wife's pretty trinkets, I'll be bound.
No, a rifle and some ammunition.
A rifle?
Uh-huh. A kind of gun.
Ah, a kind of gun. What would I be doing with a gun, Sawbones?
Preparing to shoot Sir Harry with it.
I catch your drift or some of it. But you're wasting your time. If I took this, a rifle, I wouldn't be leaving it on the chimney piece now, would I? If you be thinking of getting Harry's friend, the constable, to call with a warrant, he won't be laying his hands on it either. Now, what brings you here? Why call on me, eh?
You are known to have threatened Sir Harry's life.
Am I now?
Do you deny it?
No.
Do you intend to carry out your threat?
Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Anyway, you tell your noble friend he best watch himself.
Well, he is already taking the strictest precautions. Even if your attempt were to succeed, you would certainly be caught and hanged.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Finishing your life on the end of a rope. Does that thought mean nothing to you?
Not a lot, no. Not a lot. Cast your eyes round here and see what makes my life worth living. This? This? Just now and again getting hold of a brace of Sir Harry Fairfax's pheasants. So can you wonder, Doctor? As how it seems a fair bargain to swing for one of them gentlefolks that's put me in here.
What's your price, fellow, for putting all such evil thoughts from your mind?
I wouldn't touch your money. Black Paul does as Black Paul pleases. And no cursed popinjay tells him any different.
Oh, no, it's your fault. No, I'm begging.
I bid you good day.
please don't go. Just for a moment.
I have my duties to attend to, sir.
Are they so rigidly tied to the clock? Must it always be sir?
Yes, sir, it must. In English, there are many very good idiotismos.
Idioms.
Thank you, sir. One of the best of these is familiarity breeds contempt.
It would if it weren't there already. I suppose it all goes back to that occasion.
You have apologized enough already for that, sir. Especially because you're not truly sorry.
I assure you I am. Not quite in the way that you mean, perhaps. Let's go through the reasons why you rejected my advances. It won't take long. Because Carlos would raise the most powerful objection, and not in words alone, because I was taking advantage of our respective positions in the household. But one thinks of that afterwards. What counted at the time was something else, wasn't it?
Maybe, sir.
How encouraging you are, my dear Dolores. A fellow could pour his very soul out to you before he knew it. I know that a man who makes that kind of sudden and unmannerly approach is asking to be rejected. You're a very beautiful girl, but my heart wasn't in it. I suppose a woman can always sense a thing like that.
I suppose so, sir.
People I read about in novels never seem to suffer from these difficulties. They no sooner see what they want than they stretch out their hands and take it. It comes as natural and easy as breathing. Tell me, Dolores, am I repulsive?
Yes, sir. You are a little bit repulsive, I think. It's your life, Mr. Miles. You're repulsive in your life.
I didn't ask for my life.
No, but you have it, sir. And you're doing nothing with it. There is in this house something you want, is it not so, sir? Or somebody you want for many years. You say nothing to her. You try to change nothing. You sit here and you dream. Perhaps after all there is nothing you can do. But you can never be certain of that.
You mean I should try my best to take what I want?
Yes.
Do you hate my brother?
Oh, no, Mr. Miles, of course not. You ask me what is best for you, and I tell you. That's all. I say perhaps it is impossible.
Yeah, but how far should I go?
Go? Oh, you must decide. Will there be anything further, sir?
No. Thank you, Dolores. That's all.
We won't wait for Harry. He often misses tea altogether. Thank you, Dolores. Sugar and cream, Dr. Watson?
Yes, thank you. Forgive me, but, where is Sir Harry at this moment?
He said he was going over to the stables. Well, he'll be safe there. Safe as he is anywhere.
Yes. I see there's a fourth cup.
It's in case Miles should spare the time from his books and join us. As if he hadn't got all the time in the world to spare. But he must make his studies seem important, as he has very little else in his life. The Major never takes tea. Nothing must be allowed to interfere with his afternoon walk. He's a very serious man, Jack Bradshaw.
Yes. Forgive me, I don't mean to pry. But is he serious about you?
I won't pretend not to understand. I'm not sure. He's so reserved. When I was a child and he was a young officer, he always used to say he'd marry me when I grew up. Then I grew up and married Harry, and Jack didn't marry anyone at all. I've known him all these years, and I still can't tell what he's thinking. And what are you thinking, Dr. Watson?
Very well. I was thinking that if I wanted to make away with Harry Fairfax, or had anything to gain by his death, there would be no better time than when his life had been threatened by a convicted criminal. But that thought must have occurred to you, too.
Yes, but only as a possibility. A very improbable possibility.
Sherlock Holmes never tires of quoting some Greek fella to the effect that improbabilities are always likely to occur. to pry further, Lady Fairfax. A man in your husband's position must have made a will. Do you know its provisions?
Well, of course, Harry tells me everything. The main bulk of the estate passes to me, with generous benefices to Miles and to the servants.
And who else would have learned of this?
Well, I don't know. Harry tells everybody things. Dr. Watson, this must not happen. You must prevent it. Now, what is your next move to be?
We can do nothing but wait for the enemy to show his hand.
Lie down flat and stay down until I tell you to get up.
Ah, Watson. Lost him, I fancy. Is Emily all right?
By the grace of God.
I was just coming round from the stables when I heard a rifle shot and thought I saw someone running through the copse. Well, then I suppose the instincts of the chase.
Yes, I see.
Well, we'd best be getting back. You didn't hear the shot?
I heard a shot, of course. That's nothing so uncommon round this house.
You mean to say it never occurred to you this shot was of a special sort?
Not at the time, no. I had no reason. I couldn't believe the tale of Black Paul and his murderous intentions.
But you believe it now?
It appears I must. That is, it seems plain that somebody has murderous intentions.
It's a Rossi Charles, or I'm no judge. And you say you saw and heard nothing, Major?
If I had, I should have been here the quicker. Rest assured of that. Why anyone, even a lunatic, should wish to harm...
Oh, I think it was to me that harm was intended, Jack. I mean, consider, Watson was sitting here. Now, from the rear and from that distance, it would have been perfectly possible to have mistaken him for me.
Harry, there must be no shoot tomorrow. I forbid it.
Shoot? What shoot?
It's a very modest affair, my dear Watson. We intend to do no more than clear a few of the pigeons from the woods to the east of the house. Well, a few people from round about will be joining us.
And is the coming of this event generally known in the village and elsewhere?
Event, you call it? Well, I suppose it might be. We regularly conducted it about this time of year. Yes, it must be known.
Dearest, I beseech you not to go. Let the others do as they please, but you remain behind.
My dear Lady Fairfax, Sir Harry must be there. Blackpool will make another attempt soon. He's bound to think that the odds will be in his favor in this shoot, but we shall see to it that they're against him. It's our best chance. We must bring him into the open and rid your husband of this menace.
Watson's right, Emily.
Speaking as one at variance with the good doctor from time to time, I must give him my support in this case.
Very well. My feelings shrink from it, but my mind tells me it's the only course. I needn't urge you to be careful.
Every precaution will be taken.
Come in. Oh, it's you. Come in, as I said.
Sitting here in the dark?
You observe correctly. I can't bear these lamps. They give off such an abominable stink. But let's have some light on the subject.
There's no need. I only...
There. Would you care for a cigarette? Perfect pleasure, somebody said. It's exquisite and it leaves one unsatisfied. What more could one ask?
No, thank you.
Do sit down, mate. You're not on the parade ground. Now, what can I do for you? Forgive me, I didn't mean to sound abrupt. I'm out of the habit of receiving visitors.
Of course. I merely wondered if you had anything by you in the way of chloral or laudanum or some other opiate. It might be good enough to spare me a little.
Chloral, Major? Laudanum? How delightfully bizarre. I confess you're the last person I should have expected here confess himself a drug addict. Life isn't as grey as it so often appears.
You mistake my meaning, Fairfax. I have no direct acquaintance with these substances. It seems, however, that they are useful in promoting sleep, or at any rate in calming the mind. Those are the effects I'm in search of.
Indeed. Well, I'm afraid I must disappoint you as regards the kinds of potion you refer to. That is, I mean to keep those for a later stage in my decline. However, I can offer you a much older remedy that's no less useful, I dare say. I always take a measure about this time of night. Would you care to join me?
What the devil's that stuff?
Absinthe. Very sovereign.
French, isn't it? Rots the brain, I've heard.
Quite possibly. Now and then the brain can be the better for a little rotting. It feels things less. May I pour you some?
Oh, very well. I should say thank you. Just a small nip. Something amuses you?
Just the thought of what Harry or the good Watson would say if they knew of our drinking party. But it's not so strange after all. We're in the same boat, you and I. Here's to you.
Your very good health.
Not too bad, is it? What's troubling you, Major? It must be considerable to fetch you to me.
Slight indisposition. Perhaps brought about by...
No.
When that shot was fired this afternoon, and Emily escaped death by a few inches, or rather, when I learned of it, 10 or a dozen years of my life were rolled away in an instant. And I saw her as I used to see her, in the days when I first got my captaincy. A defenseless child, at the mercy of a cruel world she couldn't understand. And I loved her again, as I did in those days. In fact, I saw that I'd never stop loving her. I'd been telling myself that I felt towards her as an old friend would, as an uncle would. Not so. Not so. I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
I feel for you.
And there is nothing I can do.
On the contrary, my dear Major, there are at least 2 things you can do. A choice. You leave this house and remove yourself from the daily sight of the beloved object. Painful, but in time less painful than staying. Or, and here I'm passing on to you some advice I was given earlier today, or you try to take what you want.
Try to take what? Possible.
Very likely, yes, but who knows?
Impossible.
I wandered through a sickly land, beside a dim lagoon, and found me on a lonesome strand with skulls and bones bestrewn, and saw the form of beauty stand on high beneath the moon. Towards her with pain my path I plied up all that hideous hill, and when at last I reached her side, "Beauty, what is your will? What would you have me do?" I cried. And Beauty whispered, "Kill."
Oh, thank you, my dear, for putting on your pretty clothes. As I constantly say, they do make all the difference.
Now, let it not be too long tonight, Harry.
Oh, but we must play it out to the end, else there's no real savour in it.
Very well.
Shall we begin?
Yes.
Splendid. You comport yourself as if you were the embodiment of everything that is fine and true. Yet in your heart there sits the most notorious devil. I must drive him from you. Prepare yourself.
Oh, have mercy in Christ's name.
It is in his holy name that I deny mercy to the devil within you, and am resolved to expel him. Let him take heed. His hour is come.
No.
I say yes.
And here is the earnest of my sincerity.
What the devil's going on up there?
Oh, it's not important, querido. We have enough to do down here.
I'm sorry, my dear, but I really must investigate.
Oh, Juan!
You and we'll just have to wait until this thing is settled.
It's all nothing, John. They do this many nights.
Do what? What are they doing?
They play a game.
Doesn't sound like my notion of a game.
What are you going to shoot?
No more, my lord, I beg you.
We shall see whether more is required. That devil of yours is a hardy creature, I'll warrant. But he shall speak through your mouth, and it were best for him and for yourself that he speak true.
What do I say now?
I commend myself to my maker.
Oh, I commend myself to my maker.
That's better. Now, repeat my words. I am the devil and an agent of Satan.
I am the devil, an agent of Satan.
I inhabit this fair body as a cloak for mine own evil nature.
I inhabit this body as a cloak for mine own evil nature.
And I now depart this body.
And I now depart this body.
Excellent. And now, you shall make an act of contrition.
No.
I say, now you shall make an act of contrition.
No.
Ah, then you remain devil. You are incorporate in the body you inhabit. You and she are one flesh. Then as one flesh shall you suffer chastisement.
That's enough, perverts! What is this hideous ritual? Taking a leaf out of your ancestors' book? Is that it?
Oh, my dear Watson, I'm most desperately sorry. We've disturbed your rest. I can't think how we came to forget that your room was beneath this one.
Thank him that you did forget. What is to become of you, you vile creature? Such depravities are quite beyond my experience.
I can only say I'm truly sorry.
Oh, my dear Dr. Watson, you've been shamelessly put upon. Harry and I have been... Well, let me show you this. I think it's the easiest way to explain. You see...
Oh. You're just acting.
Correct, my dear fellow. Oh, not very effectively, perhaps. Emily does forget her lines from time to time, but effectively enough, I'm sorry to see to have disturbed your slumbers.
Well, upon my sainted soul.
You're stealing our dialogue, Watson. Not really. It's most inconsiderate of us, but I think I told you how much Emily misses the theatre, and this sort of amateur tomfoolery was the best we could devise by way of a substitute. Will you forgive us?
Well, of course. I say, I feel something of a simpleton.
No, you must not. We appreciate your concern.
Oh, indeed, we do. Well, we mustn't detain you.
Oh, just so. Exactly so. Well, good night to you both. My renewed apologies.
Good night.
Good night.
What has happened?
Oh, well, nothing very much. Except that I've made the most egregious fool of myself.
Come to bed, querido. Here, you're not a fool.
Oh.
Oh, there you are, Jack. Why, what's the matter? You look positively ghastly.
I slept badly.
There's more than that at work, isn't there? I know you of old.
Do you?
Why, of course I do. You've been part of my life ever since I can remember.
Not a very large part at any time. That's been the root of the trouble. I've always loved you.
Jack, you needn't tell me that.
When you were a very young girl, and I was still a young man, I used to imagine the two of us in every sort of wild, impossible, romantic situation. You and I would be shipwrecked, and I'd save you from drowning. Afghan rebels would seize you and carry you off, and I'd come riding in to rescue you. And even more direct than that, if it came to it, I'd kill.
Go on.
Sounds so absurd, I can hardly bear to. I was going to say, I'd kill a dragon.
To shield me from harm?
No. To have you for myself.
My dearest Jack, one of the few things in my life I know I can really rely on is your utter devotion. I don't deserve it, but I've never doubted it. And now a little friendly company will take you out of yourself. It does a man no good to stay on his own and brood.
Oh, it's a great relief to get away for a bit. Vastly overrated place, London, in my view. Crowds of people everywhere you go. Oh, I must say, I rather envy you chaps down here.
You like some more pasta?
No, thank you. No, I've done very well indeed.
But you soon will be taking exercise again, sir.
Oh, yes. But we mustn't overdo it, you know. Sean.
Yes, no, my brother's decided to come along and give us a hand this time. I can't think why he doesn't do this sort of thing more often. He's too wrapped up in those books of it.
He's an excellent shot.
Please, just because... Fill it up.
No, thank you.
No. It's an accursed nuisance, really. There's nothing I enjoy more than a decent rough shoot. My damn tummy has to go and play me up. And I picked up a germ out east, you know, and I've never been able to get rid of the blight. They'll have to do without me, I'm afraid.
Looks as we're away. No heel taps, good sir.
I was up there yesterday, and it was really quite a good show.
Oh, I hope so, yeah.
I must face it out. You understand that.
I'm trying to, Harry, but it's very difficult.
We must be rid of this threat. I'll wager today we'll see the end of it, one way or the other.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say one way or the other. You're talking about life and death.
Emily, I trust Watson implicitly, and I beg you to do the same. I'll be back in an hour or two, probably sooner. Believe me.
Don't worry about me. I shall have Jack and Carlos on hand.
Well, you'll be in good hands. I must go. Dearest love. Oh, come, gentlemen, we have work to do.
Stay close to his side, Miles.
Now, this is hard for you, my dear. But believe me, it's for the best. We'll look after it.
See that you do. See that you do.
Courage, Emily.
I'm not the one who needs it.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, gentlemen. Morning, we're all fit and well. Ready for the fray?
Look out, Harry!
Well, what do you deduce from that, Watson?
I deduce that we'd better use the side door on our way back. Are we to let a trivial mischance keep us from our sport? No! On with the shoot.
Yeah, well done, Watson. Very good.
Come on. Come on, go.
Stay close to Miss Harry, but not too close. Let's not form one target.
I understand.
Remember this, both of you. The worst should come to the worst and Sir Harry is hit. You, Mr. Fairfax, will remain with him whilst I pursue the criminal.
Watson, would it not have been a sensible course to have taken these fellows into our confidence?
Well, I pondered the notion, but soon rejected it. It'd be like raw troops under fire for the first time in their lives, blazing away at anything that moved. Very likely blowing each other's heads off in the process.
Good point. No, I think our forces are adequate. I find it very hard to believe that anything will happen at all. Quite possibly nothing will.
Oh.
What is it, Mr. Fairfax?
My damned ankle. I seem to have twisted it.
First, let me have a look at it.
I haven't broken my leg, damn it. I don't need surgery. I've twisted my ankle, that's all. Slightly. It'll be all right in a minute. I'll catch you up soon, but go on. Go on, all of you.
Poor Miles. Such a sensitive fellow. That must be it. Oh, nice one, Evans.
Until I tell you. Leave this to me. Aim here. That does it, I fancy.
Damn your eyes!
For saving you from the rope.
Oh.
Harry. Thank God it's no worse. I'd never have forgiven myself. Let's have a look. Flesh wound. Missed the bone and gone straight through the triceps. Somebody a clean handkerchief. Thank you. Now. You bring Sir Harry along, will you, Mr. Fairfax? And he feels like moving. Carlos, be good enough to take this wretch to the constable.
With pleasure, sir.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've had enough sport for one day. Shall we go home?
I simply can't get it out of my mind. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Not just walking up to a chap who's shooting you, but actually encouraging him to blaze away at your chest. Aim here. My dear Watson, I just don't know how you did it.
A remarkable case of steadiness under fire.
It was a magnificent moment.
Oh, dash it.
What is it, Dr. Watson?
Well, I can't go on taking all this praise when I don't deserve it.
Don't deserve it.
Well, no, I have to explain. Well, now, this beggar here. Well, when Sir Harry showed it to me the night before last, I was telling him that I'd seen plenty of them in my service days, and I was just about to tell him more. We were interrupted or something, and I forgot. But I remembered in a flash when that bullet smashed your teacup yesterday afternoon, my dear, and I knew at once who must have fired it. Well, now, it looked pretty, one. Has a good rate of fire, doesn't jam. There's only one thing wrong with it. It's disastrously inaccurate. Something to do with the rifling, what? Well, it's all right for range. It's hopeless for direction. Well, that doesn't matter much when you're firing at bodies of troops. If you aim at the left-hand man, you've a pretty good chance of knocking at the right-hand man. But with a single target, well, to get a bullet out of this, between me and Lady Fairfax at something like 80 yards, you have to be either an absolutely brilliant shot who'd practiced with it for weeks and learned to allow for its bias, and I knew the weapon hadn't been fired in living memory, or A very bad shot with the luck of the devil. Well, all the people in the case I could assume to be at least fair shots. All except one, who had the luck of the devil again this afternoon, pricking you in the shoulder, Sir Harry. So, you see, while Black Paul was aiming at my chest, I was perfectly safe. Of course, if he'd gone and loosed off at random, he might conceivably have hit me.
But even the most inaccurate weapon in the world can be dangerous at short range.
Oh, indeed it is. Which is why I kept my distance until he'd no more shots left in his locker.
It's no use, Dr. Watson. Try as you may, you won't persuade any of us to cease to admire you.
Oh, well, I suppose I must endure it with the best grace that I can summon. That was a distressing accident, and the balustrade collapsed this afternoon. Yes, I was in some confusion there for a time, until I established that the edges of the fallen stonework were blackened and weathered, and had obviously been on the point of giving way of their own accord for months, or even years, at any unusual vibration. So you see, a magnifying lens can on occasion be of use after all. But then, of course, I had no need of anything so elaborate, not indeed even of reasoning, in order to arrive at the identity of the criminal.
No? Well, what's the secret, Watson?
Secret? Whoa! The eyes in my head. Oh, I could tell straight away that Black Paul was an unmitigated villain. Do you mind if I smoke? Whereas, quite plainly, everyone else connected with the matter was simply incapable of such a monstrous act, such as the one that he tried to perpetrate today. Oh! It was obvious. And I thank God for the fact. Oh, had it not been such a straightforward matter, then I fear that... I know that my powers would have proved disastrously inadequate. And as it was, well, I wonder if Holmes... Oh, no.
If Holmes would have seen the truth as quickly as you. Well, from what you tell us, I suspect that he might well not have done.
Absolutely.
Utter bosh, my dear Fairfax. No, I've been singularly lucky in this case, as I said. But can you imagine me breaking through the devilish web of mystery in that adventure of the speckled band, as I've called it?
Well, Doctor...
Oh, no, Major. No. Well, now. Ah, Joe, time you away for your bed, Sir Harry.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, up you come. There we are. And no amateur theatricals tonight.
Bye.
Thank you once again.
Where will you stay?
At my club.
Will you sup with me first?
Oh, gladly. Thank you.
I trust that everything was to your liking, Dr. Watson.
Excellent, thank you, Mrs. Hudson. My dear Holmes, I hope you are comfortably installed. Pray allow me to recount to you a most singular adventure. Immediately upon your departure... Come in.
Dr. Watson, there's a young lady to see you.
A young lady...
young lady. Whatever can she want with me?